right. Welcome everyone. This is our first workshop for a series of workshops, 6 workshops that we scheduled this spring about Quarto and using Quarto to make your work efficient, whether you are working at academia or industry. So let me share you our agenda. We'll have about 15 minutes of overview, 15 minutes of live demo, and then 15 minutes of publishing on the web, and then we will close this workshop with panel discussions among the presenters, and also a Q&A follow-up from the audience. So if you have a question, you can type the question quietly during the workshop in the chat. And also at the end, we will also open up and take your questions. Okay, so we plan to finish this workshop by 12:45. My name is Jae Jung, Professor of Marketing and Director of Center for Customer Insights and Digital Marketing, as well as the coordinator for Math of Science in Digital Marketing. And I will be a moderator, and I'll introduce our presenters. And Dr. Carson Lenge, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I can do that. My name is Carsten Lange. I'm since 2002 at Cal Poly Pomona. Originally, I come from Germany, and I use Quarto for my research paper, for my student presentations, and I used it for a book about machine learning. The entire book, the online version and the version for the publisher, was entirely designed in Quarto. I think that gives you an idea how powerful that language is.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Lenge also teaches for MSDM program, as well as his own discipline, economics. And then next, Gerald Griffin, our MSDM student. Can you briefly introduce yourself, your background, your work prior to joining MSDM program, and what you do at the center as well?
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm an MSDM student currently, and I'm also a marketing analytics specialist at the CCIDM. Prior to joining the MSDM program, I worked at an economic consulting firm where they largely used kind of R as their main programming language, and kind of where they started dipping their toe into kind of setting up these Quarto documents to replace Word documents.
All right, thank you. Our next panelist is Serin Uer, another MSDM student.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again. Like Jared, I'm an MSDM student, and I'm also a current marketing specialist at the Center of Customer Insights and Digital Marketing. And prior to my role here, I was a digital marketing specialist for 4 years, and I worked with both on the digital advertising agency side and on the brand side. And my experience mostly involves performance marketing and paid media. And coming here, I'm very happy to be involved in more the analytics side of things. And I use RStudio Quarto on a day-to-day basis as part of my studies. So like you, I'm also looking forward to this workshop and sharing my experiences as we go. Dr. Zhang, thank you very much. We can proceed.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then let's get started. So after this workshop, you should be able to describe how to do literate programming with Quarto, learn how to set up and use Quarto within the RStudio IDE, and list the various output formats of Quarto, and you should be able to describe how to render basic Quarto documents to various popular document formats, and create a document with basic Markdown functions, explain the various platforms that host websites and reproducible documents, explain how Quarto can be used for work and school. So I'm going to talk about this overview, give you some big overview, and let me produce. I'm using a presentation version of Quarto when it's rendered as a presentation type, and by simply clicking S button in my keyboard, this is my the speaker note version, and I'm gonna keep track of my time using this, and so RStudio. How many of you already have RStudio in your system? Oh, all right. We got. All right. So if you don't have it, you can probably download this during while I'm talking. You can download. To do so, you go to here for R. Here, this is. I'm going to type this onto the chat. Where is the? Okay, here. All right. And from there, you can go to here to download. You go to CRAN, and then you can. These are the different locations around the world where you can have where they mirror these web pages, so you can download close to where you are, right? So there used to be a California one, but anyway, any place in the US should work. So let's say if you want, here's Iowa State maybe, and then you download Windows or Mac or Linux, depending on your system. And for RStudio, here is that RStudio is an IDE. Now you don't need RStudio to be able to use Quarto. If you are using R as an engine, RStudio is a good choice. So you can download the version. Now, this is a way that you can install desktop, but you can also use, if you don't want to use desktop version for whatever reason, your computer may be sluggish, and you want to for whatever reasons, right? Collaboration with others, then the parted cloud is an option. Okay, so if you let me now you need to create your account here, and I already have an account, but see, so from here you create. Since I already have it, I'm gonna just log in. Then it'll look like our desktop version of our studio. Okay, so you can easily create an account. Let's say sign up, and then here's a free for most personal use, but then there is also a paid version as well. Uh, so, okay, and then here's sign up, and then you can provide one of these, your existing, the popular credentials to uh, to sign up for it. Once you sign up, then you can also here. I already signed up, so I can just log in using my GitHub, and then yeah, okay. Um, All right, so I'm going to show you my screen, my IDE, RStudio IDE, and how to interact with it. So let me switch to this one. All right. So, all right, so you can see that here, this is RStudio. In case you are not familiar with it, there are 4 different panes, and this is where you type your code or prose. So this, you can see that this is part of the presentation that I am responsible for. You see, there are pros and there are some, mostly just the pros. And then down there is a console, and usually this is where the output, a calculation output is produced. And then on the upper right pane, that's where it shows the environment, it shows the data when you are using the data. And then it also have the Git. So Git repository is a cloud. And here I made a changes. So now my local drive is more recent, so I can, I can push these changes to my Git repository, and this is currently public, and therefore you are able to actually download everything there by going there. And we'll at the end we'll show you the presentation where the presentation slide is located, and you can clone it if you want, or download a zip file wherever however you want. Okay, and then down here it shows your current working directory. And then when this is where the plot is produced, here's a, help anything about our functions. And this is where the presentation shows up when you render this QMD file. All right, and normally there's not much you need to change the setting. I would, people normally go to just global setting and then make some changes here and there. All right, so let me see. Okay, uh, so uh, now when you work, I normally recommend that you go to new project and then set up your workspace before you create a file such as RScripts files or Quarto document. And this, we are going to focus on Quarto document, right? So, the reason is that when you create a new project, as you can see, this presentation was started as a project. So here is the name of the folder, and then that folder became my working directory, and it shows everything there. Okay. All right. Going back to that presentation here. Yeah. And then another thing that I didn't tell you is that all project file will be automatically created like this. You can see overview quarto.allproj. And this is the one that you want to double click next time when you revisit this project. And then the entire your work environment will be set up so that it facilitates your work, right? Okay. So, as I said, start a new project. And then I'll demonstrate this, right? And then you want to code, right? So let's say I'm gonna go back and here. So you want to start a project, and then there are three different options. If you want to create this project in a totally new directory in your local drive, this is where you want to go. And then existing directory, and then this is where you want to clone the GitHub repository that someone, let's say you want to download the center's workshop today, and then you can go to, can someone, Jared, maybe provide that URL to center's presentation repo? Then you can go there and you can grab the URL, and then you want to go into this and then add it to clone it. Then you can actually collaborate with the person. If that person gave you access to you, then you can directly update any changes. Now, if you are accessing it, someone else, and then you want to enhance their work, but you don't have access, then you can create a branch, and then you made it, you fork it, and then you changes, and then later you can request the owner of the repo to accept. And of course, you want to contact personally, and then have some established relationship, and they can also accept your work. So it's GitHub, and look into the GitHub if you're not familiar with it. It's a great tool that most data scientists use. Now I'm going to go back, and here we are going to use here is new directory. Now with new directory, you see there are most of the time people will use new project. But if you want to use Shiny application, the interactive dashboard, or website, or blog, or book, then you can use those because they will provide you with a nice template that you can follow. For this presentation, we are going to use demo. And then here, I want to make sure that, okay, this is, all right. So I'm going to create here another new folder, and I'll say this demo. And then I'll move into that demo new folder. I open that up. And then that could have been my demo, but here I'm going to have another demo here. Workshop one like that, and create. Now, before I create, I will say I'll check open in new session. If I don't, then it will close out the current one. I don't want that, so I want to click this one. And it's opening up. All right. So here, so now we have this nice, this workshop one folder shows up. And then here, workshop, then our project file, that's all we have. The nice workspace created. Now we need to add a script file, the code book, I would call code book. And there are 3 different code books in R. You can access, you can start a new code book by going to new file. R script is traditionally most long-lasting, the original code book, very simple, and it looks like this, right? And then here, the entire place is code. So if you say 1 plus 2, let's see, 1 plus 2, right? And then here on the down, the bottom, the outcome, but the entire place is code. But if you want to take a note, then this is how I add my notes. You need to add sharp the pound sign, and that's how we tell RStudio this is not code. This is just a comment. Okay. Now, the second type is Markdown, and there are 2 types of Markdown, R Markdown and Quarto. R Markdown has been around more than a decade, and it's been well matured. And we learned that the data science community, the R community, has learned a lot by using R Markdown. And people were able to use Markdown to publish all different kinds of the documents, create a book, blogs, and but you need a plugin. You need to have a different packages. So using all those, the experience of more than a decade of working with Markdown, the company, the creator of RStudio, uh, they 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 decided to come up with Quarto Markdown. So the Quarto document is another one, and they look quite similar. They work similar, but the Quarto document, with Quarto document, you don't need other packages to install. So just using these, you can do all that the ecosystem of previous R Markdown can do. R Markdown still exists and it continues to exist, and a lot of people use it, probably more people use it than the Quarto. Quarto was introduced about 2 years ago, two and a half years ago. So relatively new development, and so we are going to use that. And so when you click it, you'll see you can even create choose a presentation, but we'll use document, and HTML is the basic. You can always change it to PDF or Word later. And so the title, let's say you can put your name here, and then you can edit those titles later. So when you click enter, Quarto, one thing that Quarto is different from R Markdown is that it automatically make this visual mode as a sort of landing page by default, because the visual mode is more aesthetically pleasing, right? But sometimes it's easier to type things in source mode. So you will eventually go between source mode and visual mode to when you are working. So maybe we can change this. This is a demo for workshop 1. All right, and then let's create. As you can see, the currently format is set as HTML, right? So here, if you click render, then you can save file first before you render, but in order to render, unsaved work have to be saved. That's why it's presenting you this. So we'll say demo, and then click save. Now notice that the file name now appears there. It has the extension .qmd, and as we speak, it is creating a nice here document, HTML, and then you can press this. If you want to see it in a browser, you click this link, and then you will have it here in your browser. Okay, so going back. All right. So I'm going to. So let me going back to presentation slide. So what is Markdown? Markdown, if we compare Markdown with HTML, so this Markdown, the Quarto Markdown, R Markdown is not the only one. There are also GitHub Markdown. So different companies with different platforms can have their own Markdown version of Markdown, but there are commonalities among Markdowns. So in general, this Markdown is easier than HTML code, but it's also it's not as flexible as HTML. HTML can be very flexible, and it's very dynamic, but it's all very difficult to use it because there are a lot of coding involved. With Markdown, you don't really need that many coding. You weave your prose or narratives with code when the coding is necessary. For many presentations, you don't even need any coding. All you do is just your prose, right? And so here's an illustration of the differences. I'll go and show this what we made. This looks very simple document, but in terms of HTML, if you right-click your mouse and click inspect, you see how these are very, these are the HTML and CSS. So the Quarto help us to create this complex HTML file. So it kind of convert our what do we do to this complex document. Okay. So going back to this. So now that we created your project and then you created a Quarto file, .qmd file, now we just need to start literate coding within those your narratives with the code. All right. So at this point, briefly, what is Quarto? The formal definition that they have at the quarto.org is that it is an open source technical publishing system designed for creating a wide variety of documents and publications. And it supports many languages. You can use Quarto, of course, R, with R, but you can use it, you can use the Python in Quarto, okay, and Julia and Observable.js. Also, multiple IDEs support Quarto. So you, VS Code, Jupyter Notebook, and the Neobium. Okay, and you can, from within Quarto, you can publish your work to various platforms, many of them free of charge. So QuartoPub, or GitHub, Pages, Project Connect, Netlify, and Professor Lange will demonstrate how to do that with the Netlify. There's also Hugging Face. Hugging Face seems to be very big on AI-related projects. And therefore, the Quarto is just naturally a great way to facilitate a reproducible research or publication or documents. I got this from a Christophe from the Posit company, and comparing the Quarto Markdown with Word or LaTeX. LaTeX is just, scientists tend to use it because it has a great way of making complex mathematical presentation easy. So when the document is even simple, that's hardest to learn. Of course, the Word is easiest, and Markdown is somewhere in between. But as the document becomes more and more complex, Word implementing something that you want can be very difficult with Word. And there are some other very technical things you cannot do with Word. But then with these LaTeX, the learning curve doesn't, the learning curve at the beginning is very hard and it doesn't change much. The Markdown is somewhere in between. Okay. All right. So now how to actually work within Quarto. If I went too long, so I'm going to be making very short and have the next presenters talk more about the demonstration, and probably many things will be covered. So there are three areas in Quarto. The YAML, this is the top of the code book. we always start with YAML with the 3 dashes on the top and 3 dashes at the bottom. This YAML header determines the structure of the rendered file. Okay, normally that's what it does. And then if you want to have you want to add code, you want to put your code inside. There's a tick, 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 and then curly brace and R. This is called code chunk. You want to add your code inside code chunk. And the rest of the area is text area. So this is where you are going to type using, the Markdown language. You can just simply type like Word, but if you want to format, like providing hyperlinks or images, then you can do that. You can also bold it, italicize it using the common Markdown, the grammar. But I would say be careful. Do not code in text area. Some students do that and it works, but it doesn't work when you want to render it, because when you are in rendering mode, RStudio will just follow the same a process of rendering, and it's going to ignore all the texts unless it is inside code chunk. Or it may work, it actually works inline code when inline code is added in the text area, and by using special inline code designation. All right. So going back, so you already talked about this, and then inside code chunk, you can also add your note after pound sign, or you can your code just like you would do in R script, right? So here we this is space variable, and if you want to see first 6 rows of the data set, you pass the data set inside head function. Now in tidyverse way, you start with the data and then use pipe operator, okay? And then you add this function. And this tidyverse way of coding was introduced in around 2010 by Hedley Wickham, and who's from the New Zealand, and the R was introduced by New Zealand scholar, and initially as a statistical language. But in around 2010, when big data and data science became a buzzword, Hedley Wickham created this ggplot2, the most flexible and the beautiful way of visualizing data. And he also created a lot of other packages, and they call this a mega package called tidyverse. And in tidyverse, there are about 10 packages that are combined, that works this tidyverse way of coding possible, and it's consistent with the way we think. So it makes coding easier and fun to do, right? So here's now Quarto document. We have, you can see, I started the demonstration with HTML format. Now, if you simply turn that into PDF, for instance, then you need this is another kind of exception. You need a so-called tiny text which is based on text live and it takes a long time to download, so we are not going to demonstrate. Professor Lange had a video, and we actually here connected to the video so you can watch that. Now, if you change HTML to PDF after that, then it should work. You can also change HTML to DOCX to be able to generate the Word document. And then this is the presentation you are looking at. This slide is using Reveal.js. Okay? And then even dashboard, you can do that with dashboard. All right. So now within the same document, you can also show multiple format. Then HTML, it will be generated as an HTML manually, but then you can also have this PDF or the doc, the Word document, as you can see in this one. So for instance, this one was published as an HTML, but here other format and PDF file. So people can also download it as a PDF file too. So I am going to hand it over to here, Gerard. Let me see. Did I go to, all right. So Gerard is going to demonstrate how to format and the style HTML file. So I'm going to unshare so Gerard can show. Let me see here for.
All right. Hello, everyone. Or hello again, everyone. So yeah, this part of the, let me move this over here. This part of the workshop is really going to I want you to be able to have, the basic skills you will need to essentially kind of stop using Word or kind of recreate most of the kind of typical stuff that you would do in a Word type document. And how you would do that in Quarto, Word, Google Docs, any of those kind of like visual type editors. So we'll start off with just some basic formatting and structure. We'll take a look at headings first. So I'm going to go ahead and pop into my RStudio here. And then in the upper left-hand corner, instead of a new project, I'm just going to keep it simple with a regular Quarto document. I'm just going to call it Workshop 1, as we saw how kind of Dr. Jung had done that before. So now that will give me this template. I'm going to get rid of this terminal console down here because we don't really use it too much in Quarto, because all of our code chunks are kind of like up here and we can run them. And then I'm going to render this just to make sure it works. I know you have to save the file. That's all right. Oh boy, that's fine. So we'll let that render for a second. And now it pops up in this plane. I do want to mention next to this render button, you can instead, I think the default is like the preview in window where it kind of pops you out of RStudio. But I like this preview in viewer pane. So it pops up over here and you never really need to leave your code at all. Okay. So to start, I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of all of this existing Quarto document code and start from there. So headings are kind of like the overall structure of a Quarto document, and those can be inserted at various levels by using the kind of pound sign or the hashtag, whatever you'd like to call it. So if you were to put one kind of pound sign, then do a space, you'll notice we have this kind of template or faded heading 1. And then we can say, this is to say hello. And that will now be like our first level heading. And then if we were to add 2 of those symbols and then say, hello, my name is, and we can try that one more time with up to 3 levels of heading, go up to level 3. Now we have these 3 different headings in Quarto. So you notice when we did that, this outline in the upper right-hand corner, you can kind of select it, begins to populate with the headings that we have done before. So you notice this my name is below the hello, and the Jared is under the my name is because of the heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3 kind of convention. You can get up to kind of 6 headings here. If we were to switch to the source kind of view of the file, you notice it really is exactly what we did. We just added those 3 or 2 or 1 symbols, and that allowed us, or Quarto then will interpret that as headings. The source and visual is really important to remember. You're kind of looking at 2 sides of the same coin, where the visual is kind of interpreting some of the kind of formatting that you have already done. All right, so after headings, we can do some general text formatting. So underneath hello, we can say this is bold, and this is code, and something else will italicize. There's a few ways to achieve this kind of bolding or italicizing or code formatting. And thankfully, RStudio makes it quite simple. You can kind of highlight your text and hit the bold up here, just like you would in your typical kind of word editor. There's like the bold, italics, code, and then you can also, you notice it's the different levels of headings that we looked at before. But it really is a visual way to have these code changes be implemented. So if I were to, highlight this is code, it's obviously not, but you can go ahead and, quite simply visually do it there. And then finally, italics. And now we can render this just to get a little idea of what it looks like. So there's bold, code, something else. Let's take a look at the source file. And you can see the kind of different syntaxes that were required to make these outputs. So this double star is bolding on either side. These little tick marks are for code. And like the single star is for italics. So I think this kind of gives a good idea of, the behind the scenes, what you're really working on, and then a bit of a more interpreted version of what you're working on. And then finally, this like completely interpreted and rendered version of what you're working on. All right. So apart from just text formatting, there's quite a lot more to do. There are lists. I'll do this quite quickly because we can figure it out otherwise. It's just another visual thing up here. So you can do, item 1, item 2, just like your typical, word editor. And then if you pop back over to source, you can see what we did was nothing too crazy. It's just this kind of minus sign and then a tab to get us to, our syntax. So all of the kind of common things you're looking for, like bullet points, numbers, they're all going to be just here, just under a kind of different syntax. So we could do list 1, list 2, and then do the same thing with kind of numerics. But again, kind of just interesting seeing the visual format versus the kind of what the syntax actually is going to be. And of course, you can do sub-items, everything like that. Links are also possible, as well as images. They are nothing too crazy, but if you were to highlight a text, you can then visually add in a link. Let's go to google.com, hit OK. And now we have this link here in our Quarto document. And we can see our syntax, which is just adding the text, adding kind of like these outside brackets, and then in parentheses, adding your list or your link. This is very similar with images as well. You can see a local image, like if you had on your disk, or if you had a image on the internet, you can embed. But if you go back to visual, you can click this little image guy, and you'll be prompted with a kind of GUI to figure out what image you would like to implement. I'm going to just go to the CCIDM page and grab some random web address. Then you can embed it, and then you don't necessarily need a caption, but there you go. And of course, let's take a look back at our visual. You can kind of see that exact same syntax as was in that presentation. Yeah, and then we can go ahead and render this. And you can see down here, we now have our image. So yeah, it's very powerful, this visual editor, but when things go wrong, it's incredibly nice to have this, to understand what you're actually doing back in the raw kind of source view. All right. Callout blocks and block quotes are also very nice to add for, calling out important things. So let's just add something random down here. But instead of kind of using a visual method, I'm going to use the keyboard. So if you type /, you'll notice this kind of interface pops up. And this is essentially everything you can insert into your Quarto document. There's figures, there's links, you can even do emojis if you would really like to, or something like a callout block. So you can, use up and down on your keyboard to get down to where you need. In this case, we'll hit callout, we'll hit tab, and then the various kind of callout, styling we would like to do, say hello. Let's give it a render. And there you go. We have a little tooltip down here. But again, that was this kind of / next to the shift button, and then slide down, select which kind of chunk you would like. So, tables, headings, and you can click it or go ahead and tab to select. All right, so that was callouts, and then block quotes are very similar, where you can go / and then let's just search for block quotes, and then something not too terribly creative, but you have this other kind of formatting built into Quarto. But yeah, that's one of those chunks, and to add the chunk again, you do the kind of /. All right, how are we doing on time? We're all right. Finally, I think we will leave you with, or I will leave you with cross-referencing and tables. Oh, we have the header as well. But cross-referencing is quite nice, so that you can kind of link to your table once you've created it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the / again and type in table to get a table generated. We can go for 3 rows, 3 columns. Why not? Caption, we can say this is a table. Fill it with some random data. And now it's a little bit of a odd syntax, so I'm going to have to pull it up. But what we're doing is adding, we have our kind of caption here. In our caption, we're adding this kind of code block essentially, saying, this is where, go to this table or reference to this table. So the way you'll do that is open curly braces, and then you can go the pound sign and then TBL and call it whatever you would like. I'm going to call it the example table. So this is kind of creating a reference to this table here that is called table example. And then the way you would access that in actual Quarto, or reference it back, would be to do something like the @ and then you can grab the exact same thing we did before. Table example. This might not be too happy with this syntax. There it went. But you see here, this is referencing this table up here. And if I were to kind of click on it or highlight over it, you notice we get a nice little mini pop out of the actual table we're trying to reference. So I think that's quite powerful when you're creating these very large documents. You don't want the user to need to jump through hoops and to navigate to different headings or different tables. All right, we're getting a little bit out of time, but I will just mention one more thing about our Quarto, and that's going to be this YAML header. So you can, like if you had individual like code chunks or something like that, you can, like if we had a code chunk where we were trying to plot cars, let's say we run that, we can render that entire thing. So we see this plot cars.
Thank you.
We can plot those cars, but we don't necessarily want to see this code here. But by default, the code will automatically appear. So what you can do is either, or you can adjust here, add to this code chunk that turn off. You're saying echo true is going to kind of allow the code to appear. So we need to do false, do the opposite of that, which will then, for that individual kind of code chunk, kind of override some of these default settings in R. That's just kind of a method to kind of have this fine-grained control in R Quarto. But all right, I think we're a little bit out of time, so I'll go ahead and pass it on over to Dr. Lang for hosting.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will share my screen. And you heard about already how to set up to write code with Quarto. What I want to do is I want you to show the power of Quarto, how you can create presentations, documents, and how you can finally publish them to the internet. There are many ways. I choose a way through NetLify, which is a very easy one, as you will see. And the only thing what you need is you need an account on netlify.com, which is free. And NetLify has to be open in a browser. You see, there is no website currently, so we work without a safety net here. I minimize this here, and I go to R. And what I want to do, I want to create a website because I need something to publish to the internet. I go to File, New Project, and New Directory. And here we have Quarto website. I can give it a name, and I call it website demo. Website demo Quarto. And I can determine where on my computer I want it. I want it below my temp directory. So I create my website here. Takes a moment. And here you see in this project, there are a few files. There's about file. There's the index file, index QMD. The advantage is I can stay in Quarto. I don't have to type any HTML code. And I will delete this code here, the sample code here. And now what I could do is I could start in this project. I could write, for example, file, new file, and I could use a Quarto document. I also could use a Quarto presentation, but to save some time, I had prepared that already. So I just copied it into the project, a little bit of cheating here. So I have a paper here, I have a presentation, don't need this. I have images, and I copy that into my website demo for Quarto. And it's in here. I go back to RStudio, and if I go back and forth to update it, you see here's the presentation, and the paper is above it as a QMD file for now. So after I've done that, let's look at the paper. It's basically a sample paper. I have my title here. I have my code here, and I want to have it as HTML at this point, and I can render it. And takes a moment. And here it is as an HTML. But Quarto is kind of flexible. I don't want it as a HTML. I want it as a PDF file. So I render, I don't change anything here. I just render it again, and I will get a PDF file. For this, TinyTech has to be installed, and I will send you a few links. I have a video how to install TinyTech on my YouTube channel. So I will send a few links to Dr. Young, and he can forward them to you. So you see now this is a PDF file. Okay, I go back to my files, and I look at my presentation. That is actually an actual presentation that I just recently did. How to use GitHub. Okay, I render it. And here is my presentation. And there is a way, and that is a way that doesn't always work, to change this here to Beamer and to produce a PDF file. Also, TinyTech would have to be installed. I will show you a trick. I go here from my HTML output, and you see here's a little menu, and under Tools, you find PDF export mode. So I go there, and now I can print my HTML file into a PDF file. I use the Microsoft Print to PDF printer from Windows. I have to change it to landscape because my slides are in landscape. And I print, and because it's a PDF printing tool, it goes here, and I have to save it. And give me a second that I do it right. I want to save it in my project. Here's my demo. And I save it here. I hope that works. And I call it presentation.pdf. And it's saved. Okay. So now I have everything that I need in my website folder, but some people might tell you, hey, I like to have a PowerPoint. You can even have the good old kind of behind PowerPoint format, PPTX. I render my slide here in PowerPoint, and you see I don't change anything, just the format here. I render it. And it opens it in PowerPoint. And here it is. And I want to show you something here. See, even the images are nicely imported into PowerPoints. Close this. So I have everything that I need for my website, except I have to link it. So, and the nice things here is I don't have to write, I said it already, I don't have to write code. I just go here, index, QMD, and I can do everything here inside of Quarto. Here's the Quarto code for links. See, this links to my file, paper HTML. And this links to the PDF file, and so on and so on. You would have to type it. You could also use the visual editor for it if you prefer that. See, here it is. So now I render my index file. And I get a nice output here. I will show it to you. I leave it in this format. So now if I click on HTML format, nicely my page opens here. And if I go back, there should be a back button, sorry. I just render it again. Well, it's kind of stubborn. Okay, I will show it to you later on because it is on my computer, it works, but it's not on the internet. How do I get it on the internet? Again, NetLive has to be open. It's open in the background. The only thing I have to use the terminal window. I have one here, but you might not. So I show you here tools, terminal, new terminal window. Here it is. A terminal window talks to the operating system. And the only thing I have to do is to write Quarto and publish. And where I want to publish is to NetLive. And now we need a little bit luck. I hit enter. And it asks if I want to publish it to my Econ Carsten account. That's my username on NetLive. Hit return. It renders everything. I hope the links will be okay. And it opens in NetLive. And I have a web page already, except it has kind of a weird name here. They try to be funny. I don't like it. So I can go to site configuration here and change the site name. And I change the site name to Quarto Demo. Website, not very creative. And here it is. And I copy and paste it. I save it. I'm done. I have published my website. If you don't believe me, open a new window. And here I go. Type in the URL. And here is my website. So that should actually, something must have gone wrong. That should actually be my index file. The steps are as I showed you to them, but I think you get the idea. Restate in time.
Thank
I
you.
turn it over to Dr. Young. He will moderate the question and answers.
Okay, let's see. Let me share my screen back. Okay. So here is the link to Dr. Lange's tiny text video if you need help on that. And we are going to have a panel discussions. So we have a couple of questions, and after that, we'll open up to audience for further questions. So the first question I have here is, how can professors use Quarto for their teaching and research? Maybe Dr. Lange, since you've been using it for a while, can you share how you use it for your teaching and research?
Yeah, what I do, I have I have presentations in Quarto. I publish them on the internet on NetLifey, very similar than I've showed to you. My workflow is basically I create them. I'm done with the creation. I hit a button, I type one command, and it's up to date on the internet. And then for every class, I have one presentation. Students can watch them. Now, let's say I'm in class and I'm presenting and I find an error. The student points out, oops, there's an error on my slide. I can open RStudio, correct the error, save the file, render it, takes like 10 seconds, push a button, it's on the internet. There is no way somebody could do that with PowerPoint, because you would have to open PowerPoint, correct your mistake, save PowerPoint, and then you have to open your FTP program or whatever you use to publish it on the internet. In Quarto, you can do it so fast. Another thing is, I use code in my classes. I use RCode. And from bad experience, I know it's almost impossible to get code without errors. There are always some typos in. But if I use Quarto and I have a typo in my code, the document would not compile correctly, and I would find the error. The same with my book, where I have a lot of code in there for machine learning. If I have a typo, it would not compile, and thus I would know I have an error, I correct it. So in this way, you can guarantee that your code is free of syntax error. I mean, there is a chance you still have other errors in there, but at least you don't have syntax errors, and they happen so easily. You just flip two letters, and then later on the students would ask, why is my code not working?
Okay, I can also add to that. Now I am using Quarto presentation for almost all my class and every session. Whenever I need to use presentation slide, I don't use PowerPoint slide any longer. For research, I have one team right now that I'm working with and collaborating using GitHub. We made it private because the work has not been published, and I do not want to share the data with the world yet. So we can share it, and each person can code and contribute using GitHub private mode, and it's just a great way. The next question is for Seren and Jevad. Since you have worked before you coming back to grad school, and you're familiar with your workflow at your respective jobs previously, So knowing that the Quarto is available and it could help your work, now what would you do differently, and how could you see that you use Quarto to make your work efficient?
I can go first. Yeah, so in my previous job, the end goal, the product was a PDF kind of report that would be sent to the client. And the way that was constructed was, just through, linking in Word, kind of like the typical way you would do it with tables, things like that. But really, there's quite a lot of like random bugs in Excel and Word when you start getting into more complex linking and tables and like network type drives. There just seems to be a lot of kind of admin type, almost tech support issues that were really dealt with a lot. So with Quarto, I think they were just starting to kind of transition into, creating these reports in Quarto, where, it didn't necessarily need to, open up a Excel document or Word document, to try to tweak it to just get the image to line up correctly. Where Quarto is, it's a bit more set in stone. It's going to, likely work, and if it's not working, it's something you can kind of figure out and program for, versus kind of chasing down kind of random bugs in Word.
Okay, so on my side, for digital marketing purposes, we would generally use either Google Slides or Sheets for our reporting, and that would mostly involve like either you link to the Google Sheets or you screenshot it from the database where you're getting the data from, which can be like very inconvenient because, if something changes, then you have to like go back and link it again, refresh the connection, or like screenshot it again, the worst case scenario. And that would, require a lot of like manual labor. So I like that with Quarto, you can, link it to the code where it's extracting that data from the database. So it's always fresh and it's easy to collaborate with. And also it looks great. One of my favorite things is to, be able to take it online and share a link to anyone who will need that report. So, especially for maybe small businesses, it can be a great option. You don't not maybe have a big database that you can share with all of your stakeholders, but then you can just analyze and create a report in Quarto and share it with everyone. It's very convenient.
I'd like to add
thank you.
something to that.
Mhm.
When you work with Excel or Google Sheets compared to R, you have a huge disadvantage. Excel is not reproducible. You copy and paste, you add another column, and 4 weeks later, somebody asks you, how did you get this result? And then if you be honest, you say, I don't remember. It's too long ago. If you have R, it leaves a trail, it leaves your code. You can go line by line, even if you have forgotten it, you can go line by line and can retrieve the way you worked. I think that is a major advantage.
Okay, thank you very much. In the interest of time, we have one more question, but we'll just move on.